Getting new insight about the selection of the first American pontiff, Pope Leo XIV.
And joining us again to talk about it is Peter Casarella, a professor of theology at Duke University in the School of Divinity. Peter, good to see you. Come on, you had to have been surprised. No one was predicting an American pope, and not to mention it didn't take that long relatively. What was your reaction when you heard that news yesterday?
Good morning, Joel. I stopped in my tracks. I was bewildered, overwhelmed. The conventional wisdom was the Americans have control over the geopolitical levers of the world. Why give them the keys to the car of the church? But this is a different kind of American. The Italian paper is saying the least American of all the American cardinal electors. And that's very true. Robert Prevost has a great story. He grew up as an altar boy on the far south side of Chicago, but went as a missionary in the Augustinian order to Peru and served there for decades. And he holds dual citizenship, U.S. citizenship and Peruvian citizenship. And then the decisive factor was that Pope Francis 2 years ago brought him to Rome and had him replace Cardinal Mark Ouellet, who was the prefect in charge of the dicastery of bishops, to have that very important role of being the person who helps the Pope select bishops for around the world. So he has global reach, he has global entryway into all the interactions in the church in the north and the south. It's a very unique selection.
And you know, Peter, we know Robert Prevost picked the name Leo XIV. What is the significance of that popular name?
Very important question. So he's going back to Pope Leo the Great, and as the cardinals went into the Sistine Chapel, they saw a painting of Raphael, the famous painter Raphael, in which Leo the Great, the eloquent 5th century bishop, talks down Attila the Hun from invading Rome. So he uses his eloquence to preach a message of peace. And of course, the first words of Pope Leo XIV were, "Peace be with you." But then, of course, he's also recalling the great Pope, the very eloquent Roman Pope from the 19th century, Leo XIII, who called the church in 1879 in Aeterne Patres to remember the heritage of the church. He extolled the virtues of St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas, and then in 1891, Pope Leo XIII began the whole course of social justice and concern about the workers in the world. So Pope Leo XIV is continuing in the path of peace and justice of Pope Francis, but inviting the church to go back to the roots of its own Catholic social teaching in Pope Leo XIII.
That name giving us a lot of clues on the kind of pope he wants to be. Also this morning, Peter, we saw Pope Leo hold his first Mass at the Sistine Chapel. We watched that less than an hour ago. What else can we expect the new pontiff to do in these first days of the papacy?
Well, that's a great question. I was able to catch a little bit of the first Mass. He's called not a showboat, and he started with words that were joyful but somber. Before he read his homily that he prepared last night in Italian, he said a few words in English. He said, repeating the liturgy, "I will sing a new song to the Lord as he has done marvels." And then he told the whole assembled college of cardinals that that was not just about him, but that is what they had done together. And he said, "For the ministry of Peter, you have called me to carry the cross, but also as a community of friends of Jesus." So he's emphasizing here his last Mass with the whole college of cardinals as he begins his pontificate, that he's willing to take the cross, and he's doing it together as the first among equal with his brother cardinals. In terms of the next days, there were questions on the docket, like the canonization of Carlo Acutis, or like whether he'll make a trip to Istanbul to celebrate the 17th centenary of the Council of Nicaea. These things are still to be developed, but he has a few hours at least to think about that.
First day on the job, I know all eyes keep watching. Well, Duke University theology professor Peter Casarella, we always appreciate your insights. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, Dan.